Okay, so welcome back. So on the agenda, I'm gonna look at an overview of the floor plan of the hospital, just so that persons have a general idea of where things are located. And then we're gonna touch on a couple of the quality management, quality control tools that we use, or at least we have in the department to be utilized. So let's jump right into that. Okay, so we'll start with the a map of the hospital itself, and then we'll go into a map of the pharmacy specifically. Um, so let's minimize and hide thumbnail. Okay, so we have the entrance. Well, this is the car park in front. Ojo Road is located well, at least to the south of this, although the geographical south, Ojo Road actually runs, like if you're coming from the heart of Sangre, the city, Ojo Road actually runs from south to north. This is why the cardinal points are like this. So there's north, south, east, and west. And Catawara Trace from Ojo Road will actually run from east to west. Okay, so there's the car park. This is the car park in the front, and we have the guard booth. We have A&E. Note well that this was not drawn to scale. Don't laugh at my diagram. Okay, you're welcome to laugh if you want to. So anyways, let's get into it. So there's the A&E department. One section of it is here. There's the other section. CT is located in the corner, and there's X-ray. And here is our beloved pharmacy department. There's the X-ray department. Well, that is the registration booth is there. A portion of that is also located um, to the right, as we see here, within casualty. Um, as you go down the corridor, there's the outpatient department located. Here, there's a section, a records satellite unit located in the outpatient department, as expected. Moving on, so we will basically cover the front, at least the front of the hospital, front quadrant, and then we would proceed to the back. So right next to pharmacy, we have echo cardiology or cardiography. It is located before the staff entrance of the pharmacy. This is the grassy area here. There's a cafeteria located there. So not to get into too much detail to some of the other departments, but I mean, you can peruse at your leisure to see the locations, but I just want to touch on some of the areas that would be of concern. Anywhere, as a matter of fact, that drugs are located in the facility would be our concern. But I'll just deal more with the more important ones um, and then get into the forms. So there's Ward 1, which is the pediatric ward for children. Next to that, we have Ward 2. If we head west from basically the pharmacy to the back of the hospital, for lack of a better term. So there's Ward 1, which is the pediatric ward as mentioned before. There's Ward 2 along the corridor, which is the male surgical ward. Sometimes in the latter section, they do house female patients, but that changes from time to time. This section here is barred off. This new wing, which is still under construction, actually the pharmacy also has a satellite unit. You're supposed to move from our current location to there as that is completed, whenever it is completed. So moving along, so you make a left along the corridor, there's ultrasound department here, located there. Then there is Ward 6 and Ward 5. So as you exit the corridor, there's Ward 6, which is the male medical ward, and Ward 5, which is the female medical ward next to that. If we Continue down the corridor, you'll get to medical stores where this is the medical stores office. This is not the warehouse. Medical stores department is responsible for most of the medical consumable, non-biomedical devices. I would like to say. I'll get to that in a minute. I have the kitchen. Um, in between, there's a thoroughfare, and you go to the workshop where the daily paid workers are. This is part of a subset of facilities, so they would be responsible for the upkeep in the hospital. So when we write to at least we have a request to repair something that is broken in the department, a chair, a doorknob, um, uh, plumbing issues, facilities would direct the pertinent correspondence to this department. The mortuary is pretty self-explanatory. General stores is located here, so this is another subset of the materials office. Well, general stores, medical stores, food stores would be subsets of, and stationery would be subsets of materials. General stores would be for more non-medically related devices. Um, that do not fall into the category of medical stores or stationery or food stores. So, for example, if we need a lantern or batteries for our devices, um, tape, measuring tape, that kind of stuff, you can get those from general stores. Um, so, the an asterisk is being placed to the alcohol room. So, this is where we store um, our bulk alcohol solutions, both the rectified 96% ethanol spirits as well as our methylated spirits, the formaldehyde used to produce formal saline, which is one of the other responsibilities of the pharmacy. Um, that is one of the things that this is where the bulk solutions are located and decanted into smaller containers, which are housed within the pharmacy. So moving along, ward 4 is the maternity, the obstetric ward. If we go along the corridor opposite ward 4, you will come to ward 3, which is the female surgery, a multifaceted ward, the female surgical ward. Also, um, some obstetric capacity, some all gynecological capacities, or at least gynecological cases that require non-ambulatory cases would be kept on the ward. Branching off, there's OT. OT and ICU actually connected. Um, but in terms of authorized access, you access OT from the front. Like if we have to go check on their medications or deliver their proprietary items, another one of our functions. ICU intensive care unit. Um, so coming back, attached to Ward 4, these two departments are also connected. NICU, neonatal ICU. There's hemodialysis, which is accessed via um, the subsequent corridor heading west as well. So the hemodialysis unit here. And then this is another area of importance for us. There's the main stores, pharmacy main stores. We access it actually through the medical stores warehouse where they would house all the devices. So their office is located here, but their warehouse is at the back, and our main stores or main pharmaceutical stores is located within that warehouse. So that's another area of importance. This is not really the inventory management capital of the pharmacy, but a large amount of inventory management takes place at this location. Um, so there's the doctor's hostel, which is of little or no importance to us, and there is the laundry department. Important in the capacity that we do provide aseptic and sterile technique, or at least sterile services to the hospital, and this is where you can procure scrubs if you need to have scrubs to be used to perform any of those pharmacy-based tasks. There's a staff lunchroom at the back next to that. Um, Go up a flight of stairs, which was not included on the map. There's a meeting room which we would use from time to time when we have staff meetings. Within the nurses hostel, these may not be in the correct order. Infection control, and I believe a unit of dietetics is located here. IT is located to the back of the nurses hostel, the IT department, and there's a sewing room, um, which would be responsible for at least a lot of the couture and fabric and fabrication of those materials and whatnot, and the sewing in general, right, at the hospital. All of these departments can be contacted via phone. There's a directory located within the pharmacy with all of these contacts. So moving along to map number 2, which basically this is to the east of this map. So continuing, I included the lunchroom, etc., so that you know that this is just a continuation of that map. So laundry again, lunchroom, infection control / nutrition or dietetics, whichever one. CLU, there's the infection control office here for vaccinations, etc. So corridor to enter the nurses hostel here, and then you have the sewing room to the end. Um, Also important to us, these are one of the committees that we are part of, the HIV and AIDS coordinating units. Their office or caravan is located to the end of this corridor, and boots and deaths for registration of newborns, as well as um, the processing of paperwork for those who have expired. Moving along, another area of importance to us, there's to the car park to the left, if you're heading from east to west. So the officer of the manager of paraclinical services, that is important. We are a subunit of that overall unit of paraclinical services, along with the lab, radiology, physiotherapy, medical social workers, dietetics, physiotherapy, records, right? So this is where our management, or at least higher tier management, is located. Also, the hospital receptionist, who would be responsible for making all the relevant calls or at least receiving calls from persons calling the hospital. The office of the medical director is located here. The nursing supervisor is also located here. The facilities coordinator, who I touched on before, who would be responsible for general upkeep of the hospital. The OSHA officer is also located within this department, as well as the messenger services, which we would utilize from time to time to get things rolling. At least for the dissemination of correspondence of various other facilities and whatnot. This is also important for all pharmacy related correspondence, and as well as the exchanging of items, or at least the delivery of items, the receipt of items from other facilities. That becomes important too. Moving along, materials officer, stationery. So which is also part of materials. So all of our consumables, pens, pencils, measuring tape, um, basically any items that we would use or utilize, or the tools, staplers, those kind of consumables. Um, this is the entrance to the hospital, to the back car park. So waste disposal, where our pharmacy attendants would carry our waste from day to day, or biomedical waste. This is an incinerator. Um, it has the capacity for basic biomedical waste, but in terms of hazardous drug waste, they have hired external, at least enlisted the assistance of external contractors to deal with those things. The lab is here. As you realize, there's an asterisk located here too. Um, why? Because one of the pharmacy services, as mentioned on multiple occasions, is IV compounding. Um, we'll get into the chemotherapy aspect later, but for all other sterile compounding components, these are performed in the lab, as well as the formal saline, which is performed in another part of the lab. We have a hood, or at least we use their hood, rather, to correct myself, to um, for the production of formal saline, which is used in the theater as well as other departments from time to time, but mainly the theater for preservation of specimens. So the HR department also important for HR related issues. Opposite to that, there's endoscopy, accounts departments where you go to at least to collect pay slips, um, in terms of doing because we all pay taxes. So income tax return forms on a yearly basis, that's an annual process. That's where you would go to sign for those documents. Moving along there, CSSD or Central Steam Sterilization Department, which would be responsible for the sterilization of some of our consumables to be used in the sterile areas like gauze, some of the bottles that are issued to the wards for bulk solutions. From time to time, they have to carry those bottles to central steam sterilization to have them properly sterilized. Opposite this, there's the UE library for students, as well as the medical social worker social worker's office and suite located there. Um, Oncology department is located here, important to us as well. From Tuesday to Friday, as a rule, we perform the admixture of cytotoxic medications. Well, cytotoxic and non-cytotoxics, but oncologics, all the nonetheless, sorry, which would be either delivered or collected at the pharmacy. Dietetics is located here. The biomedical officer's office and um, the suite is located in this area as well. And there's, I mean, this, as I mentioned before, is not drawn to scale, but ECU is the last department here, and then records main storage is located at the back of the hospital as well. So that's just a brief overview of the hospital, as well as some of the areas of importance. Okay, so we'll look at the last map that I have, prepared. So this is a map of the current pharmacy. There are plans in the future to have a larger department, at least a more appropriate department in the new wing, as mentioned before, as well as the new hospital, which is being built, or at least the addendum to the hospital, um, which should be next door, where we would have other satellite pharmacies located as well. So this is the current setup. So let's jump right into this. So coming along the corridor, you will enter the pharmacy here. This is the staff entrance. So as you enter, well, I mean, because of COVID right now, we have the thermometer as well as the sanitization station located right outside. Um, Anyways, so you enter the pharmacy. To your right, as you enter, there will be the office of the pharmacist 3. For any issues, you could feel free to contact the office of the pharmacist 3 there. Located within this office would be a large quantity of the quality assurance documents that would have been mentioned before, in the cabinet that is located in the corner, which would be to your left as you enter it and enter the office, right? So moving along, there's a poison information center station. So as a lot of people know, the poison information center headquarters is at the Sangreani Hospital. The pharmacy, by extension, would take responsibility for at least the running of this. So this is one of our tasks. In terms of internal and external stakeholders, they would work along with UE, the physicians, mainly in casualty, and by extension, our clientele would be basically patients, or at least domestic calls, other institutions requiring our assistance. So moving along, there's the buffer stock room. So basically, once stuff is transferred from the main stores, which was discussed in the previous document, at the back of the hospital, more or less, is transferred to this section where it is disseminated into the department. In the process of modifying that SOP. So basically, every time the drug is moved, it will have to go from stock card to stock card, but we will discuss these in later sessions. So moving along domestically, we have our staff bathroom and toilet, the lunchroom and kitchen is located in kitchenette is located here. Some of the lockers. Going into the back, we have the bulk solutions area where a lot of the sterilizing solutions that the pharmacy is responsible for, Hebertin, lotions, Savlon lotion, acetic acid solutions, povidone iodine solutions, etc., would be made in the back here. And then we have our emergency exit, the big red door, basically, look at the back. The pharmacy is also responsible for disseminating distilled water to various departments. At the moment, I believe the lab also has a distiller as well, would have that responsibility. There's the chemotherapy compounding area for HDs or hazardous drugs, where we have the anti room for prepping, and we have the sterile room where the primary engineering control or the biological safety cabinet is located, class 2B, with exhaust to the outside, according to USP 797 and USP 800 specs. So coming back through the area, so we have the inpatient area. So this is where we deal with most of the proprietary preparation, a lot of the individualized prescriptions for the wards. We take a lot of calls in order to for clarification, in order to provide proper service to the clientele. So moving forward, we have the exit into the patient waiting area. So right now we would have everything in place, or at least things in place for COVID-19. However, we have the waiting area where the patients would await processing of the prescriptions. So moving on, the outpatient area, we would have all there would be, it's not empty. I mean, as I mentioned before, the map is not a totally accurate representation. So there are all the storage cabinets and shelving is located on the outside. There's a sink on the outside here. The medication refrigerator. This item here, the medication cart, we'll get into a little bit. So the registration window is located, and this is the exit to the pharmacy. So that's basically it in terms of the map. Next, we will kind of discuss some of the specialized functions on the pharmacy. So we'll start with the medication cart. So basically, the pharmacy is not 24. We are not open for 24 hours, although that is subject to change in the future with the implementation of at least the introduction of the new hospital. Medication carts contains a list of medications that are not routinely stocked on the wards during the day, and through authorization from contacting the Pharm 3, instead of having to call a pharmacist out, they would not have access into the main area of the pharmacy. Obviously, the cart is usually routinely moved into the waiting room, where it can be accessed with several regulatory steps of authorization, and also with the filling out of pertinent documentation, relieving the prescription, double signatures, etc., to ensure that they are able to access these items, and they would have no need to call out an officer to perform certain emergency tasks. By emergency, this is left up to the discretion of the pharmacy, of course. So that's just to touch on one of the processes. Right. So next, we will deal with some of the functions of the pharmacy, as well as I'll show a couple of the tools that we would use for quality assurance, quality control. Okay, so this is a medication error report form. This is one of the regulatory tools that we use in the pharmacy, or quality tools. It is not a punitive tool, as some persons think. So let me tie it into the main theme. So medication errors can be disastrous or be detrimental to one patient trust in the pharmacy. Because I mean, if a patient experiences an adverse event at their expense, as a result of our error, then we basically put ourselves back into achieving the goal of client satisfaction. One, so we damage that statistic, as well as we damage the at least the performance of the pharmacy in terms of providing quality care. So just running quickly through the form. So pharmacist on duty, details of the error. You may consider attaching the prescription as part of proof. Name, patient address, has the patient been contacted? Yes, the details of interaction or reasons for not contacting the patient, if the patient took or used the medication. So I like to touch on this area a little bit too, as well as the prescriber, if the prescriber was contacted. So persons may be thinking that because the patient, there was an intervention, we should not make notes. However, in regulating ourselves, we need to record information like this, because we need to use it to guide our processes, because an error can occur not only by or not only by the fault, or at least for a fault in the actual dispensing process. Maybe we need to look at increasing bodies in the department. We need more pharmacists. We need more pharmacy technicians. There's a flaw or a gap in the process itself. Do we have enough regulatory checks? Things like that. So forms like these are important tools in quality management and quality assurance. At the end, you have to detail any preventative actions that are planned or taken to prevent a reoccurrence. So things like these would improve or seek to guide improvement of the actual process. All right. So just touching on it, all of these are located within the orientation package, and the forms themselves are located within the Office of the Pharmacist 3. Moving on, we will touch a bit on the medication return form. So another one of our functions at the pharmacy would be medicine or pharmaceutical reconciliation. So we would do routine checks during the week to ensure that proper practices, the process is being adhered to on the ward. So the medication return form is currently filled out by the pharmacist on duty. Um, but in future, in terms of changing the SOP, we would like this form to be filled out by the nurses themselves as well once they return medications to the pharmacy. So it's pretty straightforward: patient name, medications, the amount supplied, the amount returned, and the date sent and the date taken back from the ward or delivered back to the pharmacy, and most importantly, the reason. Again, the importance of this is to ensure that the processes are being adhered to. We need to find out why the medication is not given to the patient. If the medication is not given to the patient, the overall wellness of the patient is affected, which is the overall end target is satisfied, healthy patients. Terms of guiding the process, where you have to look at, okay, is our processing time the reason why patients are leaving the ward without medication? Do we need to make recommendations to the ward in terms of more accountability on their side? Should the patient sign for receiving meds once they have to leave the hospital, etc., etc.? So these are another one of the quality assurance tools that are utilized within the pharmacy. So moving along, I spoke a little bit about the medication card before. We also do counseling on the wards. So there's a discharge form. All of these would be subject to modifications in the future. So again, these are quality assurance tools, not to sound redundant. So compliance, sorry about um, the spelling error. Possible barriers to compliance, fear side effects, lack of perceived benefits. So again, to guide the process and the overall quality of our processes, so that we can implement changes in keeping with the systems engineering. Do we need to re-engineer our systems to suit the needs of our clientele, or are we just going through the motions without proper quality management being applied? So this is another one of the tools that are used on the ward, um, in keeping with best practice. So this would bring us to the end. I mean, we could talk about we are involved in the Poison Information Center in terms of collaborations, or our department is also involved in the HIV and AIDS coordinating unit, as mentioned before. Another one of the committees, the pharmacy or the pharmacist is also a part of the pharmacy and therapeutics committee, along with the medical practitioners, in terms of guiding the process of proper dissemination of medication, the addition of new medications to the formulary, um, quality assurance. We have various quality assurance forms located in the pharmacy. For example, if the nursing arm or any other general practitioner, even a patient, reports of adverse effects of the drug, there are forms located in the pharmacy which we would collate and send to the ministry to guide their decisions. There are quality assurance forms in terms of the quality of drugs as well, located in the office of the Farm 3 as well. So if you get a call or a nurse tells you, let's say they prepare an admixture and this discolored, or they see precipitate and is not natural or is not normal for that particular medication, you can issue a quality assurance form to them for them to fill out and return to the pharmacy for us to disseminate to the Ministry of Health for review. So in time, we will touch on a lot of these tools, and you'll see the importance of these tools in guiding the overall process within the pharmacy. Again, I thank you for your time. Um, Feel free to forward any concerns, any critiques of the presentations to 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 me or any other of the supervisory staff in the department, for us to make and adjust. Okay, so signing out, and do enjoy the rest of your day.